Disrupted.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So we're continuing to bring up this Jean Carroll Trump fiasco, rape allegation, trial, civil suit, whatever you call this, the debacle, political stunt. Anyway, because this just gets more and more insane the more you look into this. And that's the thing with all these things. The more you actually look into something and read and actually pay more attention to, you just realize that this is completely insane. And that's why the New York Times had to write those articles saying, don't read into things. They told their own readers not to read, which is absolutely hilarious. But especially in a case like this, considering the timing, considering the infamous law that they passed in New York courts about how it's exculpatory for all women to open up and finally, bring forward their claims of sexual assault and abuse, but only in a limited time frame right before a president election year. It just kind of seems suspicious. It almost seems like this law was purposely designed for the situation that's unfolding. But here's even more ridiculous, kind of suspicious videos here about this. So, of course, Jean Carroll has been making media circles on MSNBC, CNN, ABC, all these different outlets, announcing that, Donald Trump did this to her, but not actually announcing that Donald Trump did this to her. But it seems like she's almost discrediting herself in this situation. It seems like every time she goes on to these, news shows, she's almost discrediting herself. Which, again, this is not to discredit all rape victims. This is not to discredit women from speaking forward. I'm a supporter of Me Too. I'm a supporter of the original intent for Me Too. I support women and for them to come forward. This is not to, protect Trump in any way. As people know, I am the OG disliker of Trump. I didn't even like him when he was on The Apprentice. I didn't even like that show to begin with. So this is just more about the principle of all this. And the fact that this is almost making a mockery of what Me Too is supposed to be about. It's just absurd. But take a look at this and judge for yourself.
Charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there. But for the women down there, and for the women actually around the world.
And it was all fairly playful.
It was charming. It was exciting. Remember what Donald Trump was like in 95, 96. On the counter were these fancy lingerie boxes that they used to have back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You wore lingerie in the 90s, I'll bet, Joy. Well, he didn't suggest it. He shouted it.
He shouted
lingerie. Lingerie. He may have shouted underwear. Okay.
Were you scared? Were you
angry? I was too panicked to be scared.
Too panicked to be scared, okay.
Totally, and I put my life on the line.
Do you think that you're going... Well, hold on a second. What do you mean you put your life on the line?
Well, people have told me I have to be careful.
You've gotten death threats.
I am not looking at death threats. I had the idea that I'm going to make him put it on over his pants. That was my idea. Mm-hmm. You see how funny that would be to make him put that on?
Yeah. I guess my question is could there be any DNA on there?
I have no idea. I do not know if the president ejaculated. Have no idea. Lawrence, I wish I had said, I'll tell you my age if you show me your tax returns.
Yeah, it would have been helpful now.
Well, so I'm holding my handbag like that. The only reason I know I'm holding my handbag is because I discovered it in my hand when I got to the street.
The statement that he said, which he's just made, which is, she's not my type, number one, that was the number one thing.
I love that I'm not his type. I'm an archer. I have bows and arrows, Yeah, fine. I think there's just too... Never mind.
I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
Anderson Cooper. We gotta take a short break because I can't pull a Don Lemon on this. In all due respect, Anderson Cooper is not a person to sexualize anything. I mean, remember when him and Kathy Griffin used to do that New Year's Eve show on CNN? Which I didn't even know CNN had a New Year's Eve show, because who the hell's watching cable news on New Year's Eve? I mean, come on, it's New Year's Eve. Why would I be watching Anderson Cooper on the last day of the year? Why would I be watching, like, the one time I would ever... Why? Why would I ever do that? But, so, I don't even have a takeaway to this. I don't even know, I don't understand any of this now. Because it seems like the more she's mentioned about this, the more it's just, I don't even understand what this is anymore. It's a rape, but she's not calling it a rape, but she got assaulted, but it wasn't actually an assault. She didn't feel victimized, but she wants, you know, respect, and she wants to do a due process. Like, I don't even know what to mention of this. Like, it seems so backwards, upside down, and they don't even know how to tackle this. And you would think if this was even, if this was a political stunt, which the evidence kind of suggests that it is, but I'm not going to say it out loud. If this was a political stunt against Trump, would you not have this all sorted out to begin with? Would you not have a, you know, steel-tight plan to do all this instead of trying to, like, latch on every single trope imaginable and just completely falling apart as you're speaking? Like, this makes absolutely no sense. This is just absolutely bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre, and I would hate, like, I almost feel bad for the New York judges that are dealing with this case to listen to all these, like, media appearances and her evidence, and then Trump, and that, like, to hear all this, like, it's just, it's so ridiculous. I'm just exhausted just from listening to this. Like, it's all falling apart before she can even finish the sentence. So, I want to show that Anderson Cooper clip because, you know, we've shown you the montage of what she's been saying, but this is kind of, I want to show this particular clip because this is what the appearances are actually like on like CNN. And this is what she's actually saying about the case. And it just shows, it's just highlighting more of the bizarre craziness of her. And again, this is not to discredit any true survivors out there, but I just want to show that even in this case, it's just absolutely crazy that this is playing out. But take a judge for yourself.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished. Which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt. It just, you know.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
You know what? I almost believed her story until she said Anderson Cooper was fascinating to talk to. Anderson Cooper is fascinating to talk to. That's why his talk show is #1 this day. Oh, wait, he got canceled. Anderson Cooper is a fascinating character. That's why he immediately had to go on break, because, like, oh, he's just so fascinating to talk to. I don't want to continue this conversation. We gotta go right to our advertisers, because I can't, you know, bullshit my way out of this like Chris Cuomo or Don Lemon. Oh, I wish we had them around still, because they can just, you know, scapegoat to another conversation and say that something's not their prime or mention their brother or some scapegoat can get out of this. But what does any of this mean? So it's a rape, but it's not a rape. It was sexualized with lingerie, but she didn't call it sexualized. Like this is turning into the most complicated Law and Order episode I've ever watched. Like they couldn't even act this on television. They couldn't even do this on a drama, for God's sakes. And I don't even know, what little, like, how this would come up, like, how to even legally process this. I'm not a lawyer, but how could anyone try to figure this out? It's just more and more complicated, and I'm just head scratching every moment of every time she's on TV mentioning about this. Like, just, it's so ridiculous. And it's so ridiculous that Anderson Cooper had to shy away to a commercial because he just couldn't handle it. Because he's a fascinating character to talk to. I am so happy to be on this show. We'll be right back. Oh, this just gets more bizarre as it is. And this is even more bizarre to this point. So this got pointed out because there's a lot of donors to this trial, which again, not to say that it is a political stunt, because I don't know what's going to happen to this channel if I do, but all the evidence kind of points in that direction. And here's another example of this, is that Reid Hoffman is the Democrat billionaire founder of LinkedIn, who is funding the Jean Carroll lawsuit against Trump. He's funding the lawsuit against former President Donald Trump. But here's the thing. The billionaire founder of LinkedIn, who's also a supporter of this, is a predator himself. Because Reid Hoffman has also visited Epstein Island. I'm sure it's just a coincidence he's trying to stop Trump. And it's linked to an article from the New York Post, so it's legitimate. There it is. LinkedIn billionaire Reid Hoffman visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island, planned to visit his New York City mansion. So, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of the story of all this is we're ruled by a bunch of sycophantic predators, criminal liars, and conspiracy nuts, and just sociopaths to every degree, bloodthirsty warmongers. Like, we are ruled by a criminal cabal. And it's just absolutely hilarious that one particular section of the criminal cabal is trying to prosecute the other particular section of the criminal cabal, while the rest of the establishment is trying to screw us over. And that's what this is really about. This is literally just this is absurdity and a complete joke and just a slap in the face to the actual Me Too movement. But more importantly, this is a distraction. This is to distract you from the fact that Biden, who is also a rapist, who is also victimized women and harassed them and sexually assaulted them, and they were told that they were liars and told to shut up, and they were discredited immediately. But this fascinating columnist from Elle magazine, Jean Carroll, just comes about 30 years later, and they specifically write a law for her to speak out, gets all these media appearances, and then discredits her own story with every media appearance. Meanwhile, Biden and Kamala Harris and the rest of the establishment, both Democrats and Republicans, are screwing over the rest of us. And that's the big picture that I don't think anyone's realized. That this is all a fabricated obstruction, distraction to try to frame Trump so he wouldn't be getting reelected, to try to discredit him away from politics so that the establishment could continue on their reign of terror against us. Because we're all being controlled by predators. We're all being controlled by sociopaths, by warmongers, by bloodthirsty maniacs, by psychological liars, these perpetrated, insane people. We are being controlled by a criminal cabal. It's a big, giant club, and you and I ain't in it. That's the big moral of the story, because the people that are sponsoring this supposed rape case are predators themselves. Isn't that just a kicker? Isn't that just a kicker? And that's something that Anderson Cooper and no media figure will ever mention about this. Which is kind of, again, something to note and surprising about this case, and kind of just, again, points the direction of the fact that this could actually just be a political stunt. Which is exactly what they've been trying to do every point in turn, because Donald Trump, even though he is a billionaire, racist, bigoted, part of the establishment, coup person himself, he is a bit of a threat to the establishment. He's a wild card, just like Elon Musk. And when you're a wild card or a bit of a threat to the establishment or step outside the line, they will do anything 9 ways to Sunday to take you down. And that's what they're doing with this.